This is our time. This is our time. Welcome to the Ryan Crossley Show, Wednesday at 9 a.m. I want to be a voice for freedom. I want to be a voice for liberty. And I definitely want to be a voice for a godly perspective and a godly view of this world in light of everything that is going on. So this is our time. You can see everything that's going on in this world and you can be depressed about it. Or you can say the light shines the brightest in the darkness. I prefer to say that the light shines brightest in the darkness. It can be somewhat depressing if you just kind of look at everything that's going on. But we've got to be a light. We've got to be that city set on a hill. We've got to be a voice that penetrates the wilderness and tries to make a positive difference in a very, very difficult time. So welcome to the Ryan Crossley Show. We have got a lot of things to talk about in this short hour that we have, but it is so good to have you with us. We have just started this show just a few weeks ago, and we are excited about what we're going to be able to accomplish. And I just want to take a moment and thank everybody that is connecting on the different pages that are online on social media, on Facebook, on our YouTube page of Iglesia La Roca de Hollywood. That is our church here, the Rock Church of Hollywood, and we're just so glad you're connected. Thank you for listening to this show. I hope that I can be a voice of common sense. I don't know if anybody else feels like common sense doesn't exist anymore, but my goodness, we've got to get back to some common sense and some logic. It really isn't that hard, but it seems like it's become difficult lately to just have common sense. So welcome to the Ryan Crossley Show. Well, we have some serious stuff that has come to light over the last 24 hours and a few more, and that is, do you remember, I remember, I mean, I don't know if anybody else remembers, but do you remember for 3 years, they made Donald Trump's life impossible with the whole Russia collusion, Russia stories. And obviously, at the end of the day, proven that he did not do anything impeachable. In fact, there's a whole lot of doubt as to any issues at all. But interestingly enough, in the last 24 hours, we have found out that even those, you know what, I think that one of the things that Donald Trump never imagined when he said he was going to drain the swamp, I think he never imagined how deep the swamp went. And if there's anything that has come to light that is very clear, is that there was a lot of people working against him. And so we shall see what ends up happening. But we found out in the last few hours, last 24 hours, that even a general, the General Milley, was undermining the president at the time, or that is the allegation. Let's clarify. That's the allegation, and it is come to light in a new book written by Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. Now, I'm not really personally the greatest fan of Bob Woodward. I think he's got his own agenda, but be it as it may, and I think that there is Woodward and Costa have another agenda in mind. I don't know that they realized they were going to expose, if it's correct, if it's true, what could be considered a treasonous. I mean, that's how serious this is. It is a treasonable offense to undermine and go against or try to do what he was doing with the Chinese government without the president's knowledge, approval, or anything of that nature. So one of the things that Woodward and Costa are trying to do, I believe, is they're trying to, if you read the excerpts, they're trying to paint President Trump as though in those last few months that he was mentally unstable. I kind of wish they would look at our current president to see about mental stability. But the point is that if the allegations are true, General Milley was communicating with the Chinese government unbeknownst to President Trump, and it would be considered something that would be quite treasonous. Now, I have my own opinion, and I qualify it as that. I think that this administration has made so many missteps in their handling of things that you have to kind of cover one thing with another in order to distract from the mess that is going on. Of course, what is the biggest mess that has happened in the last month is that we have handed over $85 billion worth of military, top of the line, best military equipment in the world. We have handed that over to a terrorist organization. We have left people, American citizens and people that aided us and helped us, we have left them behind enemy lines with no clear plan to get them out, and even no intention. If you listen to what the State Department says, no intention to try and get them out. So they are now being evacuated by private efforts, by veterans, by people that have pulled together to try and rescue them. It's a debacle. We've lost military lives unnecessarily. You can talk to or look at so many that said that the Kabul airport was not the place to evacuate from, that the Bagram airport was much more easier to secure, the perimeter. But it's unfortunately been a mess. So many things that are having to be cleaned up. Now, I'll go back to what I said a long time ago. I don't particularly think we needed to be there forever. I do believe a presence was not bad. Sometimes when you have a presence in a dangerous area, it helps it from coming to your home, which is right here on mainland USA. But we left hundreds, if not more. I don't know if you've been watching the hearings on Blinken, but he has answered so many times he doesn't know and cannot give a clear number. They've pressed him. Senator Ted Cruz pressed him over and over for a clear number of how many have been left behind. And the bottom line is they don't know. They don't know. And so this is the thing that we're dealing with. And so how do you distract from that? Well, let's have them focus on, let's let Woodward and Costa's book have them focus on Trump's, mental capacity in the last few months of his presidency, which is a farce as to what they're trying to say. Man's sharp. He is, just listen to me, sharp. But my point is, if this is true, if the allegations are true, then this is a pretty unsettling thing. And I'll tell you why it's unsettling. And I know this is my open thought here, but it's unsettling because as much as a conservative as I might be, or as much of a liberal as somebody else may be, I do believe that there are certain it's just my core belief. I believe that there are certain institutions within our government that should never be politicized to the level that they have been politicized, to where they work against the government or against the current whoever might be in charge at the time. I believe when we talk about our military, we have a feeling about our military and what they do. We honor them. We appreciate them. We value them. No matter what side of the aisle you are on, we value our military and what they do. They should never be used as a political tool. We are taught to respect, and we should respect people that are the generals in command. Unfortunately, what we are finding out more and more is that those high offices, high institutions, that I maybe it's just me, but I believe most of us feel like when it comes to a general, when it comes to the Department of Defense, the interest of the Department of Defense should be one, and that is the defense of the United States of America, its citizens, and its interests across the world. And that should not be politicized to where it works to undermine any interest that United States might have. So one of the things that is very unsettling to see happen, and it can happen on both sides, is the politicization of things like the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice. And me as a believer, as a Christian, I think justice is justice. It should not be used as a political tool. I believe that the defense of this country and its interests should be what it is, not used as a political tool. And so it is very unsettling to see this that has come out about General Milley, and we will see what is the end game. But if we are not careful, we're going to have some serious problems, because this is an undermining. Now, the reason this story has come out is because they're trying to, in order to cover up Afghanistan. Please, folks, I know you might not agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me, but they've got to cover up their mistakes. They've got to cover up the things that are looking so bad. The pullout from Afghanistan, the backlash from the vaccine mandates, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, the backlash from so many of the hypocrisy that people have seen. Just, I mean, it's open. It's not that the rules don't apply to them, and people are getting tired of it. So the way to cover that up is let's go back to January 6th, because those are the real problematic people. Those are the people that are going to, we need to focus on them. They are the real terrorists, not the Taliban. The real terrorists are the January 6th people. And it continues to go back to that. I mean, they've called it everything they've called it an insurrection. Didn't look, you know what I would call an insurrection? The videos that I watched of people lined up at the fence in front of the White House, abusing Secret Service agents, throwing all kinds of bottles and bricks and things over the fence, and destroying memorials, monuments, and national landmarks. That is insurrectionist. Not the people that went in the Capitol shouldn't have ever done that, but it keeps painting back to that as though those are the real problem. And all it is it's a cover-up to distract you from what's really, really going on. Now, one of the things that is very, and I'll close on this thought, with this thing about General Milley. One of the things that's unsettling, I think Laura Ingraham had a piece on it about the generals. If you look through the last years and what we were not able to accomplish over in Afghanistan, we need to take a hard look at our representation. And now it's become more obvious than ever with General Milley's situation. We need to see if they're really representing us as they say they are. One thing I will say is that during Donald Trump's presidency, there was no war started, and there was no terrorist attack on our nation. I don't feel too confident about how we're going to be doing the next year, because we've relinquished one of the greatest terrorist states. We've given it back in their hands. They are more emboldened than ever. Not only that, they have, I don't know about you, but it sickens me. It absolutely sickens me to see the Taliban riding around on our Humvees and wearing our men's uniforms. What have we come to? What have we come to when that's what we're seeing out there? And to just sweep it under the rug and move on to the next story. I'm sorry, I don't think that that's the right thing for us to do. I'll be right back. I just wanted to kick off with that and say we better hope that it doesn't go much deeper, because that would be a sad state of affairs in our country. We'll be right back with a few other thoughts. We're going to talk about some vaccine mandates and what's happening in California. Oh, God help those in California. We're praying for you out there. We'll talk a little bit about that. Be right back.
This is WIPULP, Pembroke Pines, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, The Rock Church.
Estás escuchando Radio La Roca, 106.3 FM. Radio La Roca.
Well, okay. Here we are. We're back in the Ryan Crossley Show. It's good to have you with us, and we will be following a little bit more, see what happens, see what comes out about the situation with General Milley, and reporting what we can, giving our opinions. I am not by any means going to declare that I am some reporter or anything of that nature. I just simply want to kind of give a perspective and my view and my opinions. Want to be a voice at this time. And one of the things that we've got to speak up about is our liberty and our freedom. I want to say something. I've had to wait a whole week. Sometimes I wish this show was daily, except for I don't know that I can handle that yet. But I had to wait basically a whole week to be able to talk about what our president said last week about the vaccine mandates. And if you have never, if you have never paid attention to the direction we're going in, you need to pay attention right now, folks. It is time to wake up. I love how hypocritical it is. It's unbelievable how they continually tried to paint Donald Trump as a dictator, or that there was no control of him while he was president. Personally, I think he was one of the greatest presidents of my lifetime. But if you've ever seen, now, I grew up overseas, so I have a different perspective than those that have just grown up here all their lives. But if you've never seen dictatorial moves, you are seeing them now. And there was no greater evidence of that than what was said last week when President Biden came out to give us his 6 pillars to curb the spread of the variants. And basically, it was a dictatorial move. He got angry, and he said a few things that when he said, we have been patient, but our patience is running thin, and he had an angry tone to how he was saying it. And then he said something that I'm going to talk common sense, and I know common sense is hard for some people to understand. Then he said this, and I got to laugh to not cry. He said, to the unvaccinated, right? He's signaling out the unvaccinated. If you are unvaccinated, you are the lowest piece of garbage in society right now in their eyes, if you're unvaccinated. And the disdain with which they spoke to the unvaccinated lets you know that's how they feel. But he said to the unvaccinated, he said, you have cost us all so much. And it was everything I could do to hold it in, because to say that, first of all, to say that with the ridiculous decisions that were made in the pull out of Afghanistan and talk about costing lives, bad timing, Joe, as far as saying it cost us a lot. But let's even get beyond that. Let's get beyond that. The unvaccinated have cost us all. Why? Why? Here's the common sense. You ready for it? If you're vaccinated and the vaccine works, okay? If you're vaccinated and the vaccine works, then how is the unvaccinated person costing you anything? Because supposedly you're not going to get COVID. So the unvaccinated have cost us all. Well, that's only because of one reason. If you want to argue that, is because the vaccine actually doesn't work. So now you're going to mandate, and I'll clarify something here in a minute. Please do not just cut me off without listening to what I'm going to say. So now we are going to demand everybody that has every company that has 100 employees or more, every employee in the executive branch, every federal worker, like it or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like it or not, you are mandated to get the vaccine, even though they have to admit, according to what he said, that it really doesn't work. So they're going to mandate something to you that does not work that effectively, in the sense that now they're talking about booster shots and all of that. They're going to mandate that to you without you having a choice. Now, I will clarify something. I am not anti-vaccine. I really am not. If I have, all kinds of friends and family that they've been vaccinated, and more power to them. I hope it does help them. If you feel that the vaccine is going to help you to, if you were to get sick, to fight it, man, more power to you. And thankfully it's out there for that. I'm not anti-vaccine. I am anti-forced vaccine, because there are a whole lot of other things that can help people. For example, a natural immunity. And as much as people might not like that, that is a scientific fact. Even Cleveland Clinic has done studies, and I'm thankful for Cleveland Clinic, because Cleveland Clinic is one of the hospitals that is taking a stand and not, as far as I know up to date, not bowing down to all of that, because they themselves have recognized what we've always recognized. And what we've always recognized is that if you had the virus and your body is producing what is necessary, or produced what is necessary to fight against the virus and the variants, that's very important, then there's no need for that person to be vaccinated. Their body is doing the job that they need to do. And there are not just one, there is hundreds, thousands, millions of people that have been through COVID, that their bodies are producing the necessary defenses. There's no need for them to get vaccinated. So to force it on them when their bodies are doing the job is really not something that we should be doing. Not only that, there's other people that it's a danger to them medically. Some months ago, I covered a story where a young lady had received a scholarship to BYU of Hawaii, and it was a $200,000 scholarship. But then they told her if she didn't get the vaccine, they were going to cancel her scholarship. $200,000. Can you imagine for a young person wanting to go to college how much that means? But she did not want to get the vaccine because she'd been vaccinated before, and it caused her paralysis from the waist down. And her doctors, multiple doctors, have written letters saying that she is a high risk. And be it as it may, she still had her scholarship canceled because she felt like this is too risky for me and I could end up being paralyzed permanently. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was a young lady in her situation, I would do the math. Okay, if I get the virus, I have a higher than 99% chance at her age of surviving it. Yes, it is contagious. Yes, it is dangerous, but I have a higher than 99% chance of surviving it. Where the paralysis thing is pretty much a given because she's already been through it once and could easily have to go through it again if she was to get vaccinated. So people should be able to make the choice. That's my point. If you want to get vaccinated, go and get vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you should have the choice. You should have the choice. You should not be mandated. And here's the reason why. Because if the vaccine works, then all those that want to go get the vaccine for their own safety and health should not be worried about those that are unvaccinated if the vaccine works. What's the problem? The problem is we know that there have been many breakthrough cases, and so we understand that the vaccine really is not like the vaccines that you and I received when we were kids for polio or measles or that kind of thing. It's not like that. This is an mRNA. It's basically a hack on your DNA system, and it's not a vaccine like what we did way back when we were kids on to be able to protect against these other diseases. Now, here's something else. Okay, I want to give you this, and then we'll go to a break real quick. I want to give you, you can go to this website, okay? It's called Open, V-A-E-R-S, openvaers.com, openvaers.com. And this is a report, and it's actually from CDC data. This is not invented. This is not made up. This is not speculation. This is hard numbers, okay? And this is since the vaccines have been, and why am I talking about this? I'm just talking about people should have a choice. And this might be a reason why somebody wants to have a choice, what I'm about to read to you. OpenVAERS.com. This is called VAERS COVID Vaccine Adverse Event Reports. There has been, through September 3rd, 2021. We are now September 15th. So just about a little over a week ago, almost 2 weeks, up through September 3rd, 2021, watch this, adverse events to the vaccine. 14,506 deaths. 14,506 deaths attributed to the vaccine. That's a problem. 58,440 hospitalizations. 77,919 people that have gone to urgent care after receiving the vaccine. I know people personally that had that happen. 106,184 doctor's office visits. after the vaccine because of adverse effects. 5,783 cases of anaphylaxis. 7,911 cases of Bell's palsy. 1,757 miscarriages. 6,422 heart attacks. 5,371 myocarditis or pericarditis. 18,439 permanently disabled. 2,910 thrombocytopenia. I think this is the blood clot issues. 14,594 life-threatening situations. 27,336 severe allergic reaction. And 7,810 that have reported shingles. Now, why does this matter? Okay? It's because we have never accepted those kind of numbers from a vaccine. Any other vaccine that would be causing this kind of stuff, we would immediately put a stop to it until it was figured out. But because this has to keep going, and the reason it has to keep going is because it's a way to control your lives. It's a way for you to have to acquiesce to whatever they're telling you to do. It's a way to control your health. It's a way to control your finances. It's a way to control things such as elections, policies, money. Do you know how much money that is being controlled simply because we can do it right now because there's fear and we have this virus? And yet, look at all of these adverse event reports. Go to it. Go read it for yourself. OpenVAERS.com. It will shock you. You won't believe what you're reading there. And yet, we're going to mandate everybody to take this. Even people that already had the virus, and they're doing fine. I'll be right back on the Ryan Crossley Show.
This is WIPULP, Pembroke Pines, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, the Rock Church.
Well, here we are. Man, time flies when you're having fun. It's already 9:35, and I've barely got through just a few things that I've wanted to talk about. But here we are, Ryan Crossley Show, every Wednesday from 9 to 10. Just looking at the news and giving our opinions, trying to decipher everything that's going on, trying to give you a chance to think for yourself, and hopefully, like I said, get back to some common sense. We really need to get back to some common sense. You know, I heard somebody say one time, and I believe this with all my heart, God is very logical, and the Word of God is not far from common sense. In fact, it is where we get our common sense from, and it should be, because it should come from the Lord. And I was thinking, I'm praying for Californians. I have some very dear pastor friends who have had to fight through this COVID pandemic. They have had to fight for their rights. I salute, and I'm very thankful. I was out in California the last 2 weeks, actually. Was in San Francisco one weekend, and then was in the Los Angeles area, greater metro area, the next weekend. And I love California to visit, but I would never want to live there. But I will tell you this, and I'm praying for you Californians, because as you know, yesterday was the recall vote, and about 64% to 30+%, they voted no on the recall, and it just had to get to 51%. But Gavin Newsom was able to pull it off, 64% in that very liberal state of California. And so there was no recall. And I'm praying for you Californians, because I've been out in your state the last 2 weeks. And I'm sorry to say this, but your metro areas are a disaster. My wife and I personally, we love visiting San Francisco. It's one of the most unique cities in the United States of America, but I will not be back. Not for vacation or to visit. If I'm called to go do a conference or something like that, I'll go fulfill my duty, come back to good old Florida, where our governor is I love our governor. Governor DeSantis is doing a phenomenal job. But in San Francisco, the back window of my car got smashed in. My stuff got stolen. We called the police officers. Took them over 20 minutes to get there. Then they wouldn't have done anything anyhow. I had to go chase my stuff down myself. Not only that, I mean, it's dangerous all over the city. The homelessness is off the charts. The crime is off the charts. And if that's how you want to live, I feel bad for the conservatives that are in California, because they're having to live the consequences of these bad decisions. Los Angeles is another city. The homelessness is it's mile after mile. They've taken over entire streets, I mean, for long stretches, and places that you could visit and enjoy. You can't visit and enjoy anymore. And California, I don't know what you're going to face. Some are saying that they're going to face lockdowns again. Some are saying that they're facing maybe the school shutdowns. I pray not. I pray that that somehow maybe this has woken them up. I doubt it, but hopefully it's woken them up to realize that there is opposition. But one thing I want to talk about, and again, I wish sometimes this show was every day, but one thing I wanted to talk about was, if what happened to Larry Elder would have happened to a Democratic candidate just a few days ago, when they were throwing eggs at him, when a woman in a gorilla mask attacked him, when they were saying things like he's the black face of the white party, if they would have ever said those things about the opposing party, an opposing candidate running the same way, there would have been an outcry. We would not have heard the end of it. Very sad what happened last summer. Horrible situation with the George Floyd issue. But look at the aftermath of that. the streets, the outcry, the news media, everything that was going on. It was day after day after day, relentless. The burning of cities, the burning of buildings, all kinds of crime and violence and vandalism that took place. Where are those people when a guy like Larry Elder is mistreated? Where are they? They're not out in the streets. They're not defending him. In fact, they're maligning him. In fact, they're trying to flip it on him as though somehow he is racist. And it's very disturbing, because if that would have happened to anybody else on the opposing side, there would be outcry. You just have to wake up and realize that it's not about a race. It's about ideologies. It's not about the color of your skin. It's about it's really a battle. And let me just say this as a pastor. It's a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle between policies that are godly, that are good, that are moral, versus policies that are not. And so sometimes that's why they will say Larry Elder is a very intelligent, powerful black man. But yet when he's attacked, they don't defend him the way that they defended somebody that was a drug addict and had a very bad history. But the response is different, and it has nothing to do with the color of the skin as much as it has to do with the ideologies and the spirit behind those things. And so California, we are going to be praying for you, praying for your churches. I pray that you are able to move forward without much opposition. But I've been out there several times, and if they're going to take this no on the recall as an emboldening empowerment, then I really do pray for you, because they're going to come after you in a way that you've never seen before. And that takes me to, my time is running down. That takes me to a thought here that I've written down and I was thinking about. And that is there no accountability anymore? Is there any accountability anymore? It seems like you can just lie and get away with it. It just seems like you can just mistreat and get away with it. It seems like we're able to talk about it a little bit on some media outlets, although the mainstream media is not going to talk about it. But then there's no accountability. Issue after issue, there's been no accountability. And there should be. The reason there should be is because I would want accountability on all sides, not just accountability for somebody that I don't agree with, but accountability for everybody. But because that keeps us safe and that keeps us aligned. But there is no accountability anymore. How many times have you seen where it just seems like things are swept under the rug? There should be accountability for what happened in Afghanistan. And I hope they're grilling Blinken as if you've been watching it, but is there going to be accountability? Or are we just going to go through hours of debate and discussion, and then it just all goes away? I grew up a certain way, and I think most of us did. And that was, if you did something wrong, you had to live the consequences of what you did wrong. And because you lived the consequences of what you did wrong, you learned to not do that again. And here's the other thing. Those around you, because I had siblings, those around you learned from watching your consequences, saying, you know what, we better not do that. And it kept everything in a good order. What happens in our world is when there are no consequences or accountability. Nobody's learning. Those that have violated the order, those that have done the wrong things, don't learn. Those that could learn from observing the consequences and accountability that another one has to live up to, don't learn. And so we end up having a society where nobody ever pays the price for things done wrong. Now, I'm not out against anybody. I'm just saying until we have some accountability, and amazingly enough, those that are not holding others accountable will hold you accountable. You're on a lesser level. I don't want to belabor the point, but this is a problem that we have, and that is the powers that be in Congress. They want to hold you accountable for things that they don't want to be held accountable for. They want to make you live in a way that they are not going to live. We have seen this over and over and over again. We've seen the hypocrisy. One of the last things, talking about the vaccine mandate, going back to that, there's a report, and I've seen it repeated, that there are members of each media outlet, mainstream media outlet, on boards of the pharmaceutical companies. There's at least one member on the boards of these pharmaceutical companies. Well, you don't think that that's going to be influential in what is reported and the accountability aspect of it all? Not only that, did you know that Congress they can mandate you to take the vaccine, but Congress is exempt from the vaccine. Way back when Obamacare came out, you had to do it, but Congress was exempt from it. So until they are held accountable, let's talk about money in the last few minutes. We are spending ourselves into oblivion. We're not going to be able to sustain it. It took us it took us from George Washington to George W. Bush to have a debt of, I think it was approximately $6 or $7 trillion. I could be wrong, but it was around that. And now we're on 30 trillion, but we're passing bills like money is water. I mean, if we let the Democrats do what they want with spending, we would easily be passing a $5 trillion spending bill. You know, they want 3.5. There's some moderate Democrats that have fought the spending, and it's thankfully not going to be 3.5, but they are very highly pressured to give in. But you couldn't live that way. Can you imagine if you lived in such a way to where you couldn't barely even pay the interest on your credit cards, and you would be calling them? Imagine, let me paint the picture. Let's say you owed American Express. Let's say you owed $20,000 on an American Express card, but you can't even pay your interest every month. You're struggling to even pay the interest. Forget the principal. You're not paying anything on the principal. You're just paying the interest, barely. And you call American Express where you have maxed out the credit limit, $20,000, can't hardly pay the interest. But now you're going to call American Express and say, you know what, I need you to raise my credit limit to $40,000. Do you think American Express is going to do that? No. Not only are they not going to do that, they're going to start coming after you. And you're going to be in trouble. And so when that happens, you have one choice, and that is, I've got to change the way that I live so that I can pay my bills. Well, that's not how the government's working. The way the government's working is we'll just spend money, and we're going to cause all kinds of inflation. Have you noticed the prices of groceries lately? Have you noticed? We're a family of 6. And as a dad, when I went grocery shopping the other day with my wife, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted to buy certain cuts of meat. And I said, babe, we're just going to have to learn to eat different kinds of meat because they're pricing this in such a way that we're just not going to be able to afford this anymore. And that's due to inflation. That's due to the way that the government is managing their money, which you could never get away with managing your money that way. You'd be in jail, or at least you'd have to sell everything you had to pay your bills and get back to normal. But we're facing here pretty soon. It's coming up. They're going to want to raise the debt ceiling again. Why? So that we can go from $30 trillion to how many trillion dollars in debt? Folks, we are damaging the future of this country. We are literally putting ourselves in an unrecoverable situation. Go to usdebtclock.org and it will scare the living daylights out of you to see how fast our debt is rising. We cannot afford it. We've got to make some changes. We've got to hold people accountable. I'll be right back for my last thoughts. I am very thankful that you're connected to the Ryan Crossley Show. We'll be right back.
Estás escuchando Radio La Roca 106.3 FM. Radio La Roca.
This is WIPULP, Pembroke Pines, Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, the Rock Church.
All right, my last thought. You ready? I got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I can't believe my hour's gone like that. It's very hard. See, I could spend an hour on each one of these subjects. I've had to run through these things to talk about it. But I have a question to ask you. And I want you to think about it as you listen to this show. Who is benefiting the most from all the decisions that are being made and all the moves that are being made? I want you to kind of look at it this week if you've got time. But there is one power that is benefiting way more than the United States of America, and it's not Russia. Definitely not. But there is a power that is very subtly, well, not quite as subtly, I guess, anymore. But the decisions that are being made right now are emboldening, empowering, and paving the way for China to become the one that controls everything. Yeah, I don't know if you understand, for example, one of the explanations, the great explanations that was given when all of our equipment was left in Afghanistan. Well, it was left disabled. Well, the problem with that is, obviously they're riding around in a bunch of our equipment, and there has been videos of our supposed disabled helicopters flying, but that really doesn't matter. There's another power in Afghanistan. The only two embassies that did not shut down during the whole crisis or did not pull out was Russia and China. And China has been very vocal and has not hidden the fact that they are aiding the Taliban. They're going to be there for them. Now, you think China is not looking at all of our equipment and reverse engineering it and figuring out how it works and our technology? Of course they are. Who do you think is benefiting when we spend ourselves into oblivion? Well, China is the ones that are benefiting. And if look at the last report, and that's why I wanted to say this. Look at what was going on in the final months of Trump's presidency. Who were they talking to? Who were they trying to cover? Who were they trying to protect? They were trying to protect China. If there's anything that we do know about previous even to the election, if there's anything we do know about the current administration and the president, is the ties to China are very, very strong. You need to research it. I'm going to probably do this next week. You need to tune in next Wednesday. I'll take the entire hour is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to take the entire hour and show you how China is positioning itself. The United States of America, if we are not careful, we are no longer going to be the world's superpower. In fact, we really aren't. And I'm going to talk to you about that next week. But China is benefiting from the decisions that are being made. There is a lot of things that are happening under the surface that are not, they are weakening us. The United States is being weakened in the world, and China is being empowered. So what do we do? What do we do? Is it all doom and gloom? Is it all over? Do we just batten down the hatches and try and survive? What do we need to do? What does our mindset need to be as conservatives? In my case, I know every Christian is not a conservative politically, but in my case, as a conservative and as a Christian, what do I need to do? What does my approach need to be? Well, first of all, the Lord said in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins, and I will heal their land. So the number one thing the church has got to do, number one thing that any conservative Christian has got to do, we've got to pray. We've got to pray for God to heal our land. I do know that sometimes you feel like it's not making a difference, but the Lord said it in his word. If we will pray, he will heal our land. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to pray. The second thing we've got to do is we've got to be a voice. You look at great men of God in the Bible like Daniel and Joseph and Nehemiah and Paul. God positioned them close to the powers that be of those days, and they were able to influence them. Nehemiah prayed first, and then when the door opened, he had a plan. So we need to pray and we need to plan. We need to be a voice in this time. I refuse to be all doom and gloom. I know sometimes it seems that way, and when we have to report this stuff and talk about and express our opinions, and I qualify that. I hope you understand that as a listener. A lot of this is editorial. It is what I think or what I view, but I pray that we look at things not so negative as though it's all over. There is a whole lot of stuff going on that is showing us the coming of the Lord is soon. But we've got to continue to pray, we've got to continue to plan, and we've got to be a voice in this time. We will see you next week. The Ryan Crossley Show right here, Wednesdays 9 to 10. Tune in next week. We're going to talk about China, and I'm going to just try and show you what's going on. And there's a lot of things that are being done that are positioning China, and we got to pray, and we've got to be aware of it. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great Wednesday. It's been great having you on the Ryan Crossley Show.
I am living